But even Saturn tilts. You know, Mike Mazzone, who's another good dude that I talk with.
Saturn is inside the Earth. Wow.
Yes, Saturn is inside the Earth. Saturn is small.
Everything.
Jupiter. Look at just look at it. At Bassmaster, just look at it. Look at Saturn. Okay, they say that on the pole, the North Pole of Saturn, it's got this hexagonal shape, right? I don't know if you ever saw that before. It has this, it's like a perfect hexagon on the northern pole of Saturn. Well, those perfect geometric shapes are evident in things that are small, not things that are 100,000 miles across. Or look at the shadow that the sun casts onto the rings of Saturn. Look how crisp that is. You're not going to get a crisp shadow from a light source very, very far away. Or look at Jupiter. Look at how those supposed formations, those circular cloud formations of Jupiter. Now for that, you would, if a spiral pattern, you know, if you look at like hurricanes, you know, they're perfectly spiral, okay, because they're big. Hurricanes are like, you know, 500 miles wide, 1,000 miles wide, whatever.
Right.
But if you look at those things on Jupiter, those circular patterns, those spiral patterns on Jupiter, they're kind of erratic. They're broken. No, it's small. Jupiter is small. Jupiter's, I said it before. Jupiter's probably about as big as a house. Saturn is probably.
What do you mean when you say that, though? What do you mean when you say that?
I mean that they're all the planets. Earth is not a planet. Planets are inside the Earth. Planets.
What do you mean? A house as in a house in the sky, or a house like
as big as a house? You know, a house is what, 100 feet wide. That's how big Jupiter is.
Like when I'm looking at it from the floor, or when I'm actually on the on this planet itself. Like, I don't understand. What you
I'm just talking about scale size. They say how big do they say Jupiter is?
They say it's huge, right?
I know.
They say it's huge.
Well, I'm saying it's small. It's tiny. It's so
hard to imagine. It's just I don't understand it being as big as a house. Like it's just like, as in when the glass sky breaks, I look at it in the sky. It's gonna look as big as a house.
I don't know if we're gonna. Well, I don't think the glass sky is going to break. I think the ice is going to.
Oh, sorry, the ice is going to break and the glass is going to droop.
The glass is going to droop, and the sun is going to be 7 times as hot. So you're probably not going to be able to see much of anything up in the heavens. It's going to be 7 times as bright, but that's what I'm telling you. The galaxies are small. Galaxies are like what, as big as clouds. Nebula means clouds. Galaxies are only like
I
what,
see.
50 feet wide, 100 feet wide.
So it's that big of a lie. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's that big of a lie. Everything.
It's that big of a lie.
Everything is tiny.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's not crazy. It's amazing.
It's crazy amazing. Yeah.
Incredible, Stephen.
Hold on 1 second. I gotta type something here.
Makes sense though. Like, why wouldn't it? I mean, I'm sure from the top of the hurricanes, it looks like a giant spiral here too. I took a picture of it. You would just see spiral.
Yeah, but it's
as big as a house.
Yeah. And so
I have a question also. What about meteors?
Meteors.
I guess they're small too.
Yeah. Meteors are small.
Oh my god.
And I don't think, they say look at the meteor crater in Arizona. I don't think that was made by a meteor. I mean, it could have been formed by. And where's the meteor if it was
could have been formed by a really.
It could be a big
blast.
Sinkhole. It could be something else. It could be
something else. Yeah.
No, I don't think the Gulf of Mexico was formed by a meteor impact. But as far as meteorites go, meteorites are covered with glass.
As far as meteorites go, right?
Did you realize that meteorites are covered with fusion crust? Fusion crust is glass, burnt glass. How did it get there? Well, they say that it came from the meteor itself. They say the silica from the meteor caused this glass covering to coat. No, that's not how it goes. There's no gradual formation of glass rock composite. It's just like a shell. It's like a crust. It's like it's covered in like a chocolate crust or whatever. It's been dipped in molten glass. It skidded across the glass sky, got really hot, and melted through and got encapsulated by the burnt glass. That's how it happened. There's so much proof. There's so much proof that there's a glass sky. So much freaking proof.
Right. 22 pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking here, if Jupiter is the size of a house, I went to Jupiter, would there be enough? Like, I don't get it. Like, would there be enough to meet people? Like, a house gets full after like 10 people are in it.
No, you can't. You can't even land on Jupiter because there's
Oh my God, no way.
gravity is fictitious. I mean, they're saying that gravity, a center of an object attracts one to. That's not how it's working. Inside the Earth, the ether is pushing you down to the inner edge of the Earth. It's not this gravitational force that's pulling you. And so these planets in the sky, which are about as big as a house or whatever,
Yes.
unless there's a magnetic attraction that's going to pull you to that planet, then you can stick onto it. But no, you can't. You can't even stick it. So that's. See, everything is affected. These planets, you heard the planet is they got the word planet. I'm not sure if it's Latin or Greek. It means wandering star. Wandering star.
Place,
okay, so
like a place.
back in the old days when they studied the sky, they saw the stars and they saw the planets. They saw there's a different movement to the planets versus the stars. The stars were all moving together, right? They're all encased. They're all like moving as a whole, as a unit.
Yes.
But
yes,
the
you're right.
the wandering ones, the planets,
Always thought that too.
they're not moving in sync with the others, with the so-called other stars, and so they were called planets. Now these planets also have a retrograde motion to it, meaning that sometimes during the year they will start moving the opposite direction and then returning again and going that same direction.
Okay.
Because modern cosmologists believe in a spinning Earth, they think that this retrograde motion is just an illusional apparent motion because they think that we're
That's
spinning.
because they've been mindfucked, bro. That's the
Yeah,
whole
they're
awakening thing. That's amazing that you're saying
they're
this.
totally
It's really-
mind-fucked.
So
They're
what is it
totally-
really then? It's really the wobble of the celestial pyramid and the celestial ocean in the middle.
Well,
And we're not really moving right now.
No. The retrograde motion of the planets is a true magnetic retrograde. It's really happening because the sun is like this big magnet, okay? This big electromagnet inside the Earth, and it's moving in the Earth, once around inside the Earth, but it's attracting and it's repulsing these objects as it goes, as it moves around. The moon is magnetically affected by the sun. All the other planets are magnetically affected by the sun. Venus and Mercury are the only two planets that are circling around the sun. The other planets are going around the celestial sphere. And so there's like a time, I have this video, I could show it to you later, but
I can see from the background of this show, like, I'm looking at the concave Earth and the sun right now as you're talking, and it makes sense, man.
yeah,
I get it.
but
I get it.
when the planet, let's say Mars, or let's say Jupiter, when Jupiter is like on the other side of the celestial sphere, opposite the sun, it's going to lose that magnetic influence. And so it slows down, and then it starts going the other way, actually. And then once it starts gaining that influence again, because it's been going the other way for a while, it gets pushed back along in the same direction. It's all about magnet and the play on magnets.
I get it, but I don't really get it, but I do, yeah.
I'll show you.
Starting to get it.
That's all right. I'll show
But
that
I get the
video.
magnetic parts. That's why everything's moving. Electromagnetics. I get it.
Yeah, and so there's ether. Ether's pushing you down. There's a magnetic force with the sun. You know
Ether.
that whole
Saying that word, I feel like I'm missing something there. It's like, what is ether exactly?
ether is like this invisible medium in which we live, in which all the objects are
The space
created.
between me and you is alive, and you're saying that's ether?
Yeah, there's ether between us. There's ether
That
in the
connection,
Earth.
then.
There's a
Okay,
connection.
yeah.
They called it the luminiferous ether back in the 1800s, 1700s. And then, see, they still believed in a spinning, like the scientists back then, they still believed in a spinning Earth after Copernicus
Can
and
you see
Galileo
it, or-
came. No, it's invisible.
Right, okay.
But it's a medium for the light. Light passes through the ether,
I
and
see.
that's what we can see the light.
This makes me really excited. It makes my palms sweat, Steven.
You've used that term before. It's kind of funny. I like it. And so, this ether, okay, where was I going with that?
Yeah.
This ether, there's these,
Light passes through it, and then that.
Yeah, there's-
If you are aware of it, does it make your connection stronger with it? Let's say that possible.
yeah, I mean, Tesla
course.
always talked about the ether. Tesla said gravity is bullshit.
He's so not talked about.
Look up, that's one of the reasons why Tesla's information has been suppressed to the public because he would advocate the ether. And he said gravity is bullshit.
Wow.
And so, okay, Michelson and Morley, these two scientists back in the 1880s or whatever, they came up with this experiment because they still believed in the ether and they believed in a spinning earth, and they wanted to find out why or whether or not sunlight would hit. They made this little apparatus. They called it the interferometer, and they shot they projected this light, and this light hit the mirror in the center, and then it changed direction, and it hit this target, and then it went back through the center, and then it hit this other target. But they split the beam, that like two beams would go, and then when the two beams converge back at the final target, there was not an interference pattern like they had expected. And so they said, well, okay, why isn't this the case? Well, the main reason why there wasn't one is because there's no spin to the Earth. That's the only reason why there was not an interference pattern detected. But they didn't like that. They didn't want to. They didn't want to entertain that. That would mean just like capitulating to all this.
Yes, exactly. It's
conjecture that they believed about the spinning Earth is too much. They cannot swallow their pride and admit that. So instead, they had to eliminate the ether. They had to say that the speed of light is constant. And then this guy came, Lorentz. He came up with this stupid contraction, like objects are contracting. Then that whole time dilation bullshit that Einstein purported. Total frickin' bullshit. Total bullshit. All because they would not acknowledge there's no spin. There's ether force and there's no spin to the Earth. There's a guy named Sagnac who did an experiment with a spinning table and projecting the light beams, and he showed that, the ether is present because these light beams are hitting the target at different times when the table was spinning. So like if the light was going in one direction versus the other direction while they're both spinning the same direction, they're going to hit the targets at different times. And so there is an ether within the Earth. Tesla admitted it, and now they were trying so hard. Oh my God, we got to find some piece of evidence, some proof that the Earth is spinning. What do we do? So this guy, Foucault, he came up with this pendulum, the Foucault pendulum in France. And so this pendulum, it perpetually moves, supposedly perpetually. I think they actually nudge it every once in a while, but and because it perpetually moves like that, they're saying that proves that the Earth is rotating. Okay?
So ether is a self-sustaining form of energy.
Self-sustaining form of energy, yeah. And so
amazing.
The problem with that pendulum bullshit answer was that there was a man named Maurice Elias. He came and he did some experiments with the pendulum during eclipses, during solar eclipses, total solar eclipses of the sun. And during an eclipse, that pendulum would change direction. It would change the rotation angle. And that is it's indicative that it cannot be the Earth that is spinning, because why would the Earth change its direction just during a solar eclipse? A solar eclipse is just something apparently that, that it's just a visual anomaly, per se. But if that eclipse is affecting the ether movement, there's ether movement within the Earth. And so when the moon eclipses the sun, it's blocking out that ether movement, or it's changing the direction of that ether movement, then it makes total sense that the pendulum would change direction too. There's no spin to the Earth, period.
Wow.
It's dead.
It's so sad that they never really expanded on this technology.
It's sad. They don't want to, there's no money in it, and you can't. The pride of man will never surrender to that, because this alludes to a creator. This alludes to that there's excerpts in the Bible that are true. We don't want to talk about this. We can't. No, God cannot be part of this. Is religion. We can't have this. No. But the funniest part of all is that they don't acknowledge the concave Earth and the glass sky, because that's going to be their biggest downfall, and that the sun is moving and it's not the Earth, because the sun did stop before in the sky 3,500 years ago. All over the world, legends corroborate that. It's mentioned in the Bible There's no way they can get around that. The sun actually stopped in the sky. And once you understand that there's no rotation of the earth and that the sun can stop, it can stop again. And if you read in the Bible, it says how the large chunks of ice fell from the sky when the sun stopped. Joshua chapter 10. Large hailstones from heaven. Well, you put that together, a little deduction there. Okay, sun stops, ice falls. Sun stops, magnifying. You're holding a magnifying glass over an area. You're heating up that area. You're creating heat. Okay? It's very simple, okay? All this ice is going to come crashing down when the sun stops. Final day now, or?
Well,